Hey guys, welcome back to Tech Driven. Today on the show, we are talking about some RTX 3060 Ti leaks, as well as some info about the new RX 6700 series of video cards has come out. And it looks like also Nvidia has sold a whole bunch of the Ampere GPUs to miners. Not children, but Bitcoin miners. Anyways, guys, stick around. Should be a good show. Oh, did I forget? Cyberpunk? Someone actually got a physical copy. The game does exist. For our first story, we're going to start off talking about 3dmark. Now, if you're not familiar with 3dmark, it's a fantastic benchmark tool. It's not that expensive. There's lots of different benchmarks you can run depending on the greatest system you have. And it's a great way to give you a gauge of performance of how your system is performing compared to other systems, as well as it's a great way to kind of have a little competition between friends, especially if you're overclocking or who has kind of the best system. But overall, it's a great tool to just make sure your system's good. It also has some stress testing tools within it, which are great to help dial in your fan curves and temperatures to make sure everything is happy. I've used 3dmark since 3dmark 05. I've always liked the tool. I have way too many hours into it on Steam from just literally overclocking and then sitting there stress testing the crap out of the system to make sure it does not crash. But this week, 3dmark came out with a new results screen. Now, the only reason why I'm bringing this up is actually because it's quite interesting. It brings a lot more information. The old results screen would show you your computer specs, the overall score, your GPU, CPU score, and your system vital information like frame rates between the different benchmarks, the CPU load, CPU temperature. So that is very, very nice. Now, the new results screen is completely different, and it is actually pretty good. There is a few bugs with it, and the first notable ones I noticed right away was when I upload my score to the 3dmark website. Some information, like my core specs, just show up as unknown, which I found interesting, and I can show you guys a screenshot of that. And then as well as with the 5600X on this system here, it shows the CPU like 40 times. No, not 40 times, but I think once for every core or every thread, which is also very, very interesting. As well as it does not show CPU temperature. So I don't know if maybe that's just a sensor issue with 3dmark not being able to talk to the Ryzen's chips, but I know it does it with my Ryzen 3800X, and it's done with the 3600. So with the 5600X, for some reason, it does not show that. So that's kind of odd. And I had no issue with the new version on my own personal system as well over there. But let's go over through the whole screen. So it does show you your overall score. Now, this system, we just ran a benchmark, and it ran a 4,737 points overall. Not bad. It ran a graphics score of 4,421 points. Now, that is only an RX 580. Great 1080p video card, but again, you don't expect ultra, maxed out graphics. High to medium settings is what you're kind of going to get at 1080p, but it's very playable frame rates. CPU score is kind of a little crazy. It's 7,975. It being a 5600X is a very powerful CPU. Another interesting screen, it shows it has Timespy, what version you've ran, the little picture there, but below it has estimated game performance, and there's a couple different games they've put in there. GTA 5 being one of them, Battlefield 5, Apex Legends, Fortnite, and Red Dead. Now, funny enough, I just ran GTA 5 benchmark on this machine, and not even for the sake of like comparing it to see if these results were accurate, but it says at 1080p on Ultra, you will get 50 plus FPS. Well, now Grand Theft Auto 5 doesn't have an Ultra setting; it has a very high setting. But if we go to my everything maxed out GTA 5 at 1080p, it wasn't 50 plus FPS. It was more like 38 average FPS or 32 and dipping into like the teens and single digits sometimes. Actually, that's minimums. Sorry. Minimums. The minimums were dipping into the teens. At one point on pass one, it dipped it at 7 FPS. And the averages were 32, 32, 35, 38, 38 between the 5 different passes. So, that's I would take those results with a grain of salt. But hopefully 3dmark will improve it and make it more accurate in time. So Cyberpunk 2077. Now this is a very high anticipated game. It's been in development for like 8+ years. It's quite crazy, but CD Projekt Red said when it's done, it's done. And I really I'm happy that they are taking that approach to it. So hopefully when it launches, the game will be very feature rich, very content rich, and it will be worth the wait. Not like Duke Nukem Forever, which was a giant dumpster fire. But it looks like a retailer sold 2 copies to 2 people on PS4, and they started streaming the first 20 minutes of the game, as well as posted pictures of the PS4 case on Reddit. So this is a kind of a big deal, as it proves the game exists. It is real, so they weren't just stringing us along and making tons of, hey guys, we just want to make the game so we can hang out with Keanu Reeves, or hey guys, we just want to make the game so we can sell you a bunch of merch, and then just say that we were never actually making the game. There's a lot of memes like that, but this is very interesting. I haven't pre-ordered the game. I'm not giving them any of my money until the game is finally out. There's no point to pre-order the game, as you'll get it day one anyways if you buy it digitally. Pre-orders did make sense maybe back in the day with Halo 2, as there was only so many physical copies and you could not download it. But unless there's pre-order bonuses or any extra items you get when you pre-order the game, at this point I don't see anything. So I will wait for day one, buy it then, install it, play it, have fun. So December 10th, not too far away, but this is quite interesting that a store did kind of let it go. Hopefully no other stores will kind of fumble and make that mistake. I wouldn't doubt whoever worked at that store or something, there might have been some fallout, but we'll see. Unfortunately, it looks like YouTube will be putting ads on my videos anyways, and other creators' videos, if you're not part of the partner program. So what does that mean? Well, YouTube's just going to take all the money, and there'll be ads on every single video. It kind of makes sense. It's their platform, and they can do what they want. And they're letting us upload videos for free, so we're taking up space on their servers anyways. So it makes sense from a business practice to have ads everywhere on the site, because then they're going to make more money, and it's going to help offset the cost of running YouTube. It's definitely not a cheap service to run, for sure, for how much storage you need to run these videos and stream them and all of that. So that's for sure. So it'd be quite interesting to see how that plays out, and hopefully, I don't know, hopefully maybe they'll make the monetization wall a little bit less steep. But I can see in a way they want it to. They want only active channels to have to do the ad rev share, because they want to make as most money as possible, as they are in a business to make money and not give away free money. So, but I'm not surprised they didn't do it earlier. So with the launch of RDNA 2, or Big Navi, as we like to coin it for a while, the 6800 XT and the 6900 XT, which we'll see soon, so far show very strong performance, strong competition against Nvidia, as well as not only when it comes to strong competition in raw FPS and performance, but also when it comes to price. Sadly, not availability, but also as well in power consumption. All the RDNA 2 cards have very good power consumption, at it being lower TDPs than the Nvidia counterparts. Their coolers are also quieter. Maybe aesthetically not as nice, but there is going to be a couple more cards coming. Just like Nvidia is soon releasing the 3060 Ti, there will be a 5700 XT and not a 5700, a 6700 XT and non-XT cards. Now, what does that mean? Well, you're going to expect to see very similar kind of reduction in performance as you go down the product stack. So I'm assuming these will be faster than their 5700 XT counterparts. They actually are going to have more VRAM. So instead of 8 gigs of VRAM, we're going to step up to 12, which is the big difference. It's going to be on the Navi 22 die, and they're going to be under 200 watt TDP cards. So that'll be really nice, as they're going to have a low power draw. So that should also be low temperatures, hopefully, and that should also help with having more compact cards. So we'll see what happens as there's more details come out. This is, very early on. AMD hasn't said anything officially, but I can't see why they wouldn't replace their 5700 XT with a 6700 XT and giving it a little bit of a performance bump at a lower price and at a lower power consumption. It just makes sense. So at the RTX 3000 series launch, we saw the ultra high end, the high end, and we saw the start of the mid-range with the 3070. Now, last week we talked about the 3060 Ti coming out, filling in the mid-range series of cards. Now, it looks like the 3060 is going to be a sub 200 watt TDP card. It's going to come in at a decent price based on what we saw last week. I think I said around $400 US is what it's expected to be, as well as priced around. It's going to be coming out around December 1st. So we're really, really close. I think today is the 28th, so we're only a couple days away from the launch. So if it comes out this week and performs very strong, that will be really, really cool. Hopefully some other reviewers already got their hands on the card and started benchmarking it, and we'll hopefully see benchmarks this week, if not hopefully very shortly. But it looks like some Timespy results got leaked, and that kind of tells me that maybe some people already have their hands on this card for sure. It looks like this card performs within 11% on Firestrike and 13% behind the 3070. Now that puts the 3070 in a very weird standpoint, as the 3070 is a lot more expensive, has the same amount of VRAM, but it does have more CUDA cores and it's clocked a little higher. But you know, does it make sense to buy a 3070, or can you buy a lower price 3060 Ti that performs basically the same, and maybe you can overclock it to be the same? So it starts to make the slowest of the high end, but the fastest of the mid range, you know, the high mid tier card in a weird position. And yeah, speaking of that, it looks like it has a little bit less CUDA cores. It has a little slower base clock, but it performs almost the same. But also with a lower TDP, which is really good. So that's great for gamers, as it has lower power requirements. You should be able to fit this in smaller rigs because you'll probably have smaller coolers. But overall, it should be a really strong card. So I'm interested to see when it actually comes out. So it looks like Nvidia sold $175 million worth of video cards this third quarter towards crypto miners. So this would include Ampere cards. With the current Ampere cards, it looks like they are picking up massive performance when it comes to crypto mining. In Ethereum or Bitcoin are the two most popular ones. But you know, this is kind of sad for people like you and I that are gamers and don't really care about Bitcoin mining or any of that kind of stuff, as we lose out and we do not get cards on our store shelves. But at the end of the day, Nvidia doesn't care, because as they are moving product. So I really hope that availability gets better and we don't fall back into 2016, 2017 when Bitcoin really took off and really became mass market, and more people started doing it. So we'll see what happens. But at the end of the day, Nvidia is just going to sell to whoever's buying. And if we have people buying 50 at a time, 100 at a time, well, they're going to get them first, sadly. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this week's show. There's a couple videos now going to start coming out during the week. One will be, you probably saw last week, was an all AMD rig, no tempered glass, no extra RGB, and that was I built for a friend, and it was $2,000 Canadian, taxes in, out the door. And what could he get without paying, without waiting for anything? So waiting for RTX 3000, waiting for RX 6800s, or waiting for Ryzen Ryzen 5000, which in turn actually turned out being not that bad. But you're playing a waiting game if you get it or not, if you order it and the shipment comes in. So he wanted, what can I grab off the shelf and just build within the week? And I said, yeah, sure, no problem. So he gave me $2,000 Canadian to build the rig, and you'll see in the video, and I'll link it below, and it'll be in the end card in the video of what we got. And it worked out to being a fantastic, well-rounded rig. So 3700X and RDNA 1 with a 5700 XT, and I'm really happy with that card. It's a really, really strong performer. But this is the second build you'll see on the channel, as well as I did my full water cooling refresh. As you can see, I have the Noctua fans in it now. I did a full breakdown. I have a full time lapse. I'm almost done shooting it. I did run into one issue after I put the system together. I'm waiting on new drains. One of my drains did fail. I actually started leaking at the ball valve handle, so I ordered some new drains. And when those come in and I install them, that's when I'll wrap up that video. So you'll see that come out later in December. As well as this PC, this Wednesday, there's another video coming out. So the following week after that, you'll see the first of two videos that week for this rig. So the first video will focus on the build. The next video will focus on what to expect when you just upgrade your CPU and not your graphics card. So the big thing with this rig is we replaced everything except for the graphics card. As a graphics card, still pretty decent. It's an RX 580, but we replaced the CPU from a i7 3770 to a 5600X. So big jump in CPU performance, but the graphics card is still the same. So overall, gaming performance is kind of the same. It's a little better, but because there's literally no video cards at stores besides a 1660 Ti or one of these, we just left it. And come the new year, we'll pop in a new video card. So anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And and let me just quickly speak about this microphone. I'm having issues with my lavalier mic where it's picking up radio stations and you hear it faintly in the sound. You're actually going to hear that in the next video in one of the first clips. And it drove me nuts, and I had no way to fix it. So this is my current interim solution. Instead of using my lavalier mic as an external mic to my Zoom H1, I'm just using the Zoom H1 with my sock over it. Well, not a sock, but it's like a dog on a stick. Over it to stop the pops and my breathing as much. And hopefully this works well for this episode. So in the videos for this is the setup I used. And for today's video, this is the setup I used. I'm going to look for a better lavalier mic that has better insulation on the cable. And I think that might be the solution. But if you guys have any suggestions, please let me know in the comments below. And if you did enjoy today's video, please remember to subscribe, like, and I'll see you in the next video.